Hey everyone, welcome into this week's Friday Fire. Thanks for joining us, and grateful that you tune in every week. And so this week we have a staple of barbecue. When we think of barbecue, other than pulled pork, probably one of the next things that comes to your mind is ribs. And we got some ribs on the smoker. And today I wanted to kind of do one of the most basic ways to do ribs. You can do ribs lots of different ways. Today we're going with the 3-2-1 method. If you know what that method is, and you're already ahead of the game. If you don't, I'll tell you about it here in just a second. But I wanted to share a thought with you. In my reading devotional time this week, I came across a verse of scripture that I wanted to share with you, and it's found in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 3 and 4. And it says, "Don't forget mercy and truth." It says, tie it around your neck, write it on the tables of your heart, and through this is how you're going to get a good reputation with men and with God. Now that sounds like a good deal, good reputation with men and with God. It sounds like a goal that we would all need to strive for. Matter of fact, there's another verse that talks about following holiness and peace with all men, and without which no one's going to see the Lord. So getting along with people and getting along with God is something that we need to strive for. And so I began to think about that verse before it, when it says, don't forget grace and truth. Don't forget mercy and truth. And so the thought that I kind of had with that is how many times that we need to hold ourselves accountable to the truth, but at the same time show mercy to others. We can know the truth, we can hold fast to that, but that doesn't mean that we have to enforce everybody else. It's not our job to enforce. Growing up, I don't know if you heard this growing up, I heard this growing up a lot. I blame it on the fact that I'm a middle child. And so as the middle child, I had to watch out for older sibling and a younger sibling. My older sister, my younger brother, I had to watch out for them. And if they weren't doing things they were supposed to be doing, then it was my job to go tell my parents. And so I grew up hearing this a lot from my dad, and this is the saying. He would always say, "Dustin, you have a full-time job if you just worry about yourself. And you don't have to worry about your brother, you don't have to worry about your sister, just worry about yourself and you'll have a full-time job." And so that's kind of where my mind went when I read that scripture. And I thought, man, how often is it that we actually get that backwards? We fall, we make a mistake, we fall short, and we want everybody else to be merciful to me. But then when somebody else makes a mistake, somebody else falls short, I want to point the finger and say, see there, you shouldn't have done that. And I want to call them out on that. But actually Proverbs is telling us the exact opposite. He's saying, you can't forget truth, you can't do away with truth, but you also can't forget mercy. And so I thought about that, and I thought, man, what good truth, just life principle to live by. Don't forget mercy and don't forget truth, and keep striving for that level of truth, keep striving for that, but at the same time, let's extend mercy to each other. Let's not want to call each other out and point condemning finger and so on. And in the next verse tells us what that's going to get us. He said that's going to get you a good reputation with God and with man. Good reputation means, hey, this guy lives up here, but he's merciful, he's kind, he's just. And so I just wanted to leave that thought with you today. And so for those of you that aren't aware of the 3-2-1 method on ribs, it's very simple, very basic. What they say is put the ribs on the smoker for 3 hours, just season them up, put them on the smoker 3 hours, and then at the end of that 3 hours, wrap them up. You can wrap them up in butcher paper, wrap them up in aluminum foil. I didn't have any butcher paper with me today, so we went with the aluminum foil. Wrap them up and let them keep cooking for 2 more hours. And then the last step of that, the 1 hour, open them back up, uncover them, and that's where you want to baste it with your sauce, your barbecue sauce, and let it sit in that smoker for that last hour, and that sauce will kind of caramelize and thicken up on those ribs. Today we did a little bit different. We want to dip ours in the sauce, so we don't have sauce on it right now. I did when I wrapped it up in the aluminum foil. I put some butter in there with it to kind of keep it all nice and moist. And so we'll bring the camera in here and take a look at these ribs, and they still probably have about 45 more minutes to go on this final hour. But they're looking pretty good. They got a good color to them, and you can see that seasoning on there. We're going to take them, and when they're done, we'll be able to just pull those bones out, and we'll just be able to dunk them in the barbecue sauces. So that's basically it on the 3-2-1 method of ribs. There's so many different ways you can do ribs, not really a wrong way or right way. You get them cooked and tender, boom, they're perfect. But if it's kind of helps you with a way to learn it or remember it, 3-2-1, 3 hours in the smoke, 2 hours wrap, and then 1 hour sauced and out of the smoke.